Hi, and welcome to Film Critic. Today I'm going to be discussing 1902's A Trip to the Moon. It's a silent film, and it's one of the more unusual silent films because most silent films that I've seen usually has the dialogue with the black screen, white lettering, but this one does not. This one's actually quite different, and it's currently on Netflix. You have both the color and the black and white versions. Basic story is a group of scientists want to go and visit the moon. They build a rocket ship and they shoot themselves to the moon, and they meet an alien race and somehow get back to Earth, and bringing along an alien with them. So what I'm going to be discussing today is, for 1902, there's a few racy things to deal with. First of all, the scientists look like magicians, and so I believe that what the French are trying to do is make fun of scientists by calling them magicians, or in a sense making science magic, or magic is science. Either way, it's not true because science is science and magic is full of illusions and kind of science-y. But yeah. So this group of magicians or scientists decide that they would like to take a trip to the moon. They do so by building a rocket ship. This rocket ship is the beginning part of what the Wright brothers, of course, first invented the first flying airplane successfully. And then it progressed really fast to where we could build rocket ships to actually go to the moon. Of course, the whole rocket satellite space race to the moon between Russia and the United States was, of course, won by the United States, with Apollo 11 going to the moon first and having Neil Armstrong land on the moon with Buzz Aldrin and the other astronauts to make the moon, I guess, the United States, which is also territorial. Which is quite funny because in the film, Trip to the Moon, there is a lot of territorial expansionism that goes on within the film. So these bunch of magicians, scientists, men, build the rocket ship, and there's this whole idea laid out that science overcomes industrialism and that science prevails, because there's a scene where the men are building the rocket ship. You see the scientists go outside and look at the industrial site, and they look, and then all of a sudden the industrial businesses just go up in smoke and blow up, and it's quite scary for 1902. So I believe what the director and story writers were trying to say was that science prevails over industry. And if that's the case, then we wouldn't have industry, wouldn't have all the technology that we have today. But if you look at it, both technology, not just technology, but industry and science coincide with each other, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have technology without the science behind it. So that they kind of balance each other. So what the filmmakers were trying to come across with didn't really happen like they thought it was. Another thing that I thought was really, really racy for the time is the fact that the women were wearing something very scantily. Very racy, very saucy for the time of 1902. You have a bunch of women in really short shorts, which during that time period, you would not have women wearing such clothes. That didn't come around till probably the 20s or 30s. Definitely the 40s when women started wearing pants. I was very shocked to see this in the film because women shouldn't have been wearing that back in 1902, giving the norm of the time. That was very interesting to me. Another thing that I saw was the science behind building the rocket ship and how they decided to shoot it like a cannon into space, which was quite interesting, and they immediately land on the moon. And of course, if you see this film or know about this film, it of course has that iconic scene where the spaceship runs directly into the moon and the moon starts bleeding because it's the man in the moon. And it's one of those iconic scenes that, if you know silent films, it's that scene. Which is very interesting once the scientists slash magicians land on the moon. There's something really strange. It's almost like an LSD trip. There are a bunch of stars, it starts snowing. It's very hyper unrealistic to the fact that, of course, in 1902 you didn't know what it was like on the moon or in outer space, that there was no oxygen and there's really nothing in that vast voidness, but there's a lot of stuff there. So there's a scene where two women are in a toga holding up a star, and then you have this one woman in scantily clothes sitting on the moon, which is weird because the scientists are on the moon, unless it's a different moon, maybe. And then there's an old man hanging out of Saturn overlooking, and they caused the snow on the moon. But anyone with actual science knowledge, the moon has no atmosphere, so therefore it cannot snow. So our scientists delve deeper into the moon, and that's when we meet the alien race. And it's almost like the humans are being, I wouldn't say racist, but probably alienist. But they begin to the humans feel threatened by the alien race, and the alien race is just being themselves, which is very true today, that when you don't understand something, you decide to hate it. So the human race begins to kill the alien race until the alien race captures the humans, and in doing so they bring them to the king of the aliens, where the king of the aliens kind of wants to sentence them to death for killing alien race. But in doing so, one of the scientists kills the king of the aliens. And there's a whole lot of back and forth between the two races or species until the humans run away and get back onto their spaceship to fly back to Earth. And in the process, an alien kind of stowaways himself, or itself, onto the rocket ship, and the rocket ship falls into the deep, deep, deep undersea, where you kind of see a bit of evolution going on, because there's some critters in there swimming around that have legs and tails and look very, very much like an amphibian or a reptile, but it's underwater. And it's very interesting. So when they return to Earth and return to their world, that's very normal for the humans, there's a big parade, and they kind of bring back the alien and have him as a sideshow act, like one of those monkeys that you would see on the street corner with a man playing the music box. It's very, very racist, I think, because the fact that they bring back the alien and then just use it as humiliation toward the alien, and they enslave it, and it's kind of sad. It's probably going to be a sad life for that alien if they continued the film and made a sequel. So the humans were regarded as heroes, and it reminds me very much of how the white Americans overtook the Native Americans who were native to the land and sent them all the way to Oklahoma. And you have people like Buffalo Bill, who made Native Americans into a sideshow act, which was very racist at the time. Many white Americans did the same thing with black Americans, with the enslavement, especially in the Deep South. So there's a lot of parallelism there between this film and actual life. The only thing is science does not prevail over industry. So it's a very good, interesting film for it to be a silent film. I bring it up mainly because it's one of the top 100 films, and it's in one of the 1001 films you must see before you die. And that starts films like Star Wars, Star Trek, Apollo 13, any rocket ship film. It is, after all, one of those films that starts the expansion of going into new worlds. It's not just that there's an alien race on the moon, but if there were, then how would we treat the aliens? Which is very, very funny, because in most science fiction, you have the human race trying to be friends with every single means of alien race. Humans can't even be friendly to their own diverse races. So that's my thoughts on A Trip to the Moon, 1902. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars, mainly because of the bombastic acting, which is the over-hyperbolization of acting, which isn't very subtle. So if you would just give me a thumbs up to this video and subscribe. If you enjoyed this film, let me know. It's on Netflix. I don't know how long it's going to be on Netflix until, so watch it now while you have the chance. So I will see you possibly next week with a different film that I'm going to be critiquing and giving some interesting thoughts to. If there's a film that you would like me to critique, just email me at film.critic.1000@gmail.com, and we'll see you soon.